Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Holcamp, and I'm the City of St. Cloud Parks and Recreation Director. The Lakefront Park is just one of the many parks in St. Cloud that I oversee, manage, and operate on a daily basis. So I just want to welcome everybody and thank you all for coming out of your busy day to give us your public input on the Lakefront Waterfront Master Plan that we'll be going over in the presentation. I just want to give everybody a brief history about where this project started. Back in the spring of 2019, we started this venture on this master plan. We had about 3 public workshops. Some of you were at that one at the time, so thank you for coming back. The last one we had was in fall of 2019. Then we all know what happened. We went through a pandemic, so it kind of put the project on hold. A few months back, we're bringing the plan to the City Council for approval based on the public comment we received in 2019 and realized that we really needed to have another public workshop since it had been 2 years since the public was able to comment on the plan. That's why we're all here tonight. We have partnered with GAI Community Solutions Group to help us navigate through this master plan. At this time, I want to introduce Kristen Caborn, who is the Parks Director for them, and she will go through the presentation. Thank you.
No standing ovation? I don't know what to think. All right, thank you. Tough crowd tonight. Well, again, I think I caught most of y'all in the lobby signing in. Thank you so much for being here. It's really important to us and makes us feel great when we have a large turnout for one of our meetings. So we're not just talking to staff, because really the public input is the reason why we're all here. So Stephanie, Aaron, you can flip the slides. Stephanie did give a brief overview of the process. I'm going to take you back through very briefly what we did. I really am only going to talk to you for about 10 minutes. As I told some of you when you were signing in, we are also being live broadcast on Zoom. So Andrea and Aaron are over there. They're managing the Zoom questions. People will be chatting, right? Everybody say hi to everybody on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. But many of you, I see a lot of familiar faces, are used to our meetings. They're open house style, and that's a very important thing for us too. So most of you have gotten the opportunity to go to the back of the room. We're going to be here until 7 tonight. So question and answers will be in the back of the room. Look for any of us. We've got on GAI shirts. We've got St. Cloud City employees here to help also. So we'll be here to take your questions at the end. So thank you again for being here. All right. So this has been a 4-step process. It started, it feels like forever ago in 2019, where we started to look at all of the opportunities and constraints of the Lakefront Park. If you all recall, in about 2016, 2017, St. Cloud embarked on a process, Envision St. Cloud, and the Lakefront was one of the priority projects that came out of it. Another one of the projects that came out of it was the redo of New York Avenue, which you all enjoy already, is one of the projects that have been built. So the Lakefront is one of the high priorities and is really the heart of the community, used by everyone who lives here. From there, we had our first round of public input, and we started to talk about programming. What would the options be? What would you be able to do when you were down here? We wanted to hear from everybody on the types of activities, whether it be walking, biking, hanging out at the beach, flying a kite, having a picnic, launching your boat, going to the cigarette boat races, going to the bass tournament, whatever it was. We wanted to hear everything so we could take all of your wants, desires, and dreams into consideration through the planning process. From there, we came up with a couple of different master plans that had, we call the puzzle pieces from the program. We take those puzzle pieces and put them together into the concept plans with different options. We've presented them to City Council. We've taken them into the public. And what you're seeing tonight is a result of all of that input. So we're really excited to talk to you all about that. Aaron? Vanna? All right, so again, taking you back to Envision St. Cloud process, some of the ideas that came out of the priority project of the Lakefront in that process was that parking is undersized and poorly circulated. And anybody who's been walking on the Lakefront knows what a challenge it can be to walk and compete with the boats and trailers. You've got the playground over here competing with the parking for Krabby Bills. So there's a lot of different activities and they're all clustered together, and parking can be a challenge. Dan Terrell Memorial Point is, people love it. People like to have weddings out there. It's a great place to have a nice view into the lake, but it needs some refreshing and some rehab to look a little bit better. Trail is a huge community asset. You can come out here any day of the week, anytime, although of course in the evenings, you can see people walking on the asphalt trail, but also the trail along the berm on the lakeside. That's been a very popular addition and kind of a trail that people have found. We wanted to make sure that was accessible to everybody. So knowing that that was a priority, you see the new trails and the new levels of accessibility that are part of that. Marina is a great amenity. There have been wait lists over the years. There was desire to expand the marina. Seaplane base would add activity. I do want to say that we are actually, as part of this process, not involved in the seaplane base. We have some earmarks, if you will, and the plan on where the seaplane base might be, as well as an administrative building for it. But we're not involved in the design of that. So if you have questions specifically to the seaplane base, I encourage you to talk to somebody from the city, because all we have is placeholder. We're not really involved in that portion of the plan. The multi-purpose lawn, the symphony area, all of that is underutilized, but is also very important to the program and to the gathering space down here. 4th of July back before 2020. These were really big citywide events in the heart of the community. And then again, of course, pedestrian crossing from the grid north into the park area. All right, so during our public input, what came out is the desires capitalize on the nature experience. People wanted to be able to feel like they were connected to the lake. You see a lot of that in our boardwalks and the opportunities for connecting closer to the lake than you can right now. Increase the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. This is, again, we've talked about what an important asset this is to the community, and we want to make sure that people are comfortable and avoiding as many conflicts between people and cars and rollerbladers and skateboarders and bicyclists as possible. Increasing the comfort along the walks with shade and seating. If you go from the old water treatment plant site all the way to Mississippi, you're going 2.5 miles. So a lot of people do that. Eventually, you'll be able to go from the east end at Mississippi along Rummel Road and up to Chisholm Park. So we wanted to make sure that there were plenty of rest stops along the way, plenty of shaded seating opportunities. We've integrated some activity along the walk too, like a dog park over on the west side, which is really exciting. That was something that people were really interested in. And then also resolving the boating and jet ski conflicts. Right now, you've got people pulling up their jet skis onto the beach. You've got the crowd at the boat ramp with people trying to launch jet skis north into the lake. So those are some of the conflicts we wanted to work out. So we went through concept development. I did not draw these pictures. They don't let me draw, but this is where we start to test a lot of what's going on in here. How can we make this work? And we go and take all those puzzle pieces that we heard from both Envision St. Cloud and from the first round of public meetings and figure out, how do these come together? How do we make this site function better for all the different users? So there were a couple other things that were playing into this. At the same time as we started looking at the site, the city was also studying how can we increase some economic development opportunities along the lakefront. Some of the ideas that were developed as part of Envision St. Cloud. I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time bending over talking to that microphone. It's awkward for me. So we're looking at a civic space down here. You have this room up here, certainly, that is very popular and has been utilized for rentals and for weddings, but the true civic space for people to be able to gather, for programming, that type of thing, was something that was missing from your signature park. So looking at that, looking at some additional retail, maybe an additional restaurant, a hotel in the form of a bed and breakfast. We're not talking a big hotel down here, but those are some of the options that the city wanted to look at as this moves along. So again, at this point in the process, if you take a look at the plans, you'll see spaces allocated for that, as well as associated parking for those, but those programs have not been any further developed. I can't tell you if there's going to be a Burger King or a McDonald's here. We're not at that point now. We're just allocating the space for that as part of the master planning process. Aaron? Okay, so the vision, what you see in the back, if you didn't get a chance to go back there yet, We have two tables pushed together and we have the whole plan laid out in one piece. So you can see it from the far east end to the far west end, as well as the center of the park. And then we have three other tables that have zoomed in areas. So you can take a closer look, spread out a little bit more and get some more attention one-on-one. So as you're going through that, we think of the relocated amenities to improve the circulation, improve the functionality, and get people to be more excited when they come to the park without such a confusing layout. How are we going to activate the lakefront more besides the special events that are already taking place down here? How are we going to make sure that there's opportunity for all residents to have something to do down here, whether from the very youngest to the most seasoned residents? Excuse me, I spoke to a woman signing in who has been in St. Cloud for more than 50 years. And I suspect that many St. Cloud residents who have joined us tonight have been here for quite some time. So we want to make sure that we're hearing from everybody, the generations, and have opportunity to come down here and enjoy something together. Improving the trail and improving the comfort of the trail. And then again, improving crossings into the park. Okay, so when we talk about the waterfront, we're talking about the waterfront is the area outside of where we're sitting now. So it's where the retention ponds are, it's where the trail is, and where there's not the heart of the activity. So when we're looking from west to east, y'all can see the west down by the trailer parking there. One of the major changes to that, and again, this is where the wastewater treatment plant that was decommissioned is located, it's at the far end of the park. Right now, there's a picnic pavilion there and a small parking lot with a trailhead. So if you're just coming to walk, you can park down there now. One of the big moves of part of this plan and trying to reduce the parking conflicts and trying to reduce the pedestrian conflicts is to move the boat ramp down to the west end. Okay, that's a big move that has been seen. City Council has seen that change. We've presented that change many times. And at first, everybody's gut reaction is like, ooh, that's different. But it actually gives us the opportunity. I have cheat sheet here on how much parking we can have. By moving that down there, we would get 62 truck and trailer parking spaces, which is not anything like what we have here right now. And then an additional 27 spaces in the trailhead. So it opens up parking a lot more. You don't have people who are parking for other events conflicting. You don't have that circulation problem, and you don't have the boats and trailers coming through during the busy weekend hours when people are using the trail. We're able to also provide a bigger boat ramp that way. So hopefully the lines won't be as long and it'll be easier to launch your boat. The other great thing about that is we're showing a police fire station boat storage down there. So we have nice emergency access. They don't have to worry about such a cluttered boat ramp at the same time if there's ever they need to get on the lake quickly. That's something they don't have right now. So staging area for the bass tournaments, we have nice grassed area for overflow parking. If it's a special event or it's getting really busy, we've got much more space down there. And then we've kept the trailhead, and of course you can see the retention ponds. Another one of the big moves when we talk about the waterfront is, I mentioned earlier, the accessibility to the north side of the retention ponds and getting everybody closer to the lake. The city put bridges across the weirs, across the drainage structures that are there right now, because we know that people like to walk on the berm. But right now, if you have a physical disability, if you require a wheelchair or a walker, there's no access for you. On top of that, if you are to run the berm and you go across, you're stuck for a really, really long time because it's about a mile and there's no way to cross. So another one of the really big important moves is we've created some intermediate crossings. So if you want to go to the north side, you can see we've formalized the trail to cut across where the retention ponds are about halfway to shorten that loop. But we've also provided better access to the water. So to study nature, to see the birds, we've got some nice meandering boardwalks going through the wetland area along the lake's edge. So that will improve that experience. And if you want to stay on the berm, you certainly can, but this provides much more ADA accessibility and a better nature experience closer to the lake, brings people closer to the water as part of it. You can see we've got a small dog park area here. We've split the trail in half to go around a dog park so people can have a small off-leash area for their dogs to play. And next slide. So continuing to move to the east, we get to the heart of the park, and then we skip over to the east side of the waterfront from the area from the beach and Terrell Memorial Point over to Mississippi. So you'll see some of the big moves here are, we talked about the conflicts between the jet skis and the boats. We've created our own jet ski area just on the east side of the beach with its dedicated parking as well as a dedicated kayak launch area. And the idea behind this is to keep the jet skis who drive really fast and do their donuts and all those away from the swimming area. We're showing a line of buoys on the swimming area to protect it. The beach is very, very close to the size it is now. There's a few small areas where the amphitheater seating kind of cuts into the beach, but for the most part, we know how much everybody loves the beach here. We heard from City Council that they wanted to keep the beach the same size, so the beach is largely the same size. We've just designed it to eliminate some of the conflicts between the jet skis. They've got their own dedicated parking and they're not fighting with the parking with the boats and trailers. Again, the east side is a reflection of what's going on the west side. We've got the seating nooks. We've got the boardwalk bringing you closer to the lake. And then when you get down to Mississippi Avenue, there is a trailhead there for parking if you just want to come and park. Next slide. All right, the heart of the park, what we all, most everybody is the most interested in. Really excited to talk to you about this. I wonder, is the mouse working? Yeah, the mouse works. Okay, so right now, this is the existing fishing pier. We are, again, a placeholder only for the seaplane docks. We're looking at where the seaplanes would land, and you all are familiar with the trail along Florida Avenue. The idea is that the city is thinking of things holistically. So if a seaplane is coming in, if someone who does not have a marina boat slip is coming in just to enjoy the facilities for the day, they can dock either their boat or their seaplane, come in, use the park, and then also eventually go on a trail along Florida Avenue to get you to downtown, the New York Avenue City Hall area. So trying to think about this as the big picture and how we're going to bring people in. We're showing a small administrative building for the, I don't know what they call them, seaplane administrator, aviation administrator to handle that. One of the big moves for this project, for the heart of the park, is actually bringing the playground and the splash pad over to the other side. Now, this is where this area right here is where our existing car, truck, and trailer parking is. So again, big move to get rid of that conflict between people and cars and people towing their boats. We have created a nice family hub here. So if there's a small bed and breakfast, they can stay there. They have access to the playground and the splash pad. Splash pads have a functional life. Thank goodness they are very popular, very well loved. People like to get wet. They don't have to have a lifeguard, so they're less expensive to operate, but they don't last forever. So the city has refurbished this splash pad here. By the time this plan comes around, it's going to be time to refurbish it again because they do have a functional life. So what we've looked at is creating a nice parking area here with the civic center, but also having what we call a destination playground and splash pad. And what that means is it's cool enough, it's intriguing enough that people actually want to drive there as a destination to go join it. So we're looking at that there, having some shade structures associated with it, a nice open space. We were talking about this in our studio today, having this nice open space associated with the civic space. So we've got some room to breathe. We don't want to cram everything in. We want to really preserve that open space. You can see we're showing, again, this is just a conceptual picture of expanding the docks, what you're looking at now out north in the lake to increase the marina capacity for people who are renting, but then also create some more transient slips. This diamond oriented square, this is where we're sitting right now. So we're looking at keeping the marina building with Krabby Bills on the bottom and this space on top. But creating a much nicer grand entry. You can see there's parking over here. I forgot to tell you how many spaces there are. There's 150 parking spaces over here. There's about 36 on-street parking spaces that you would see like you have now in front. The event space has 58 spaces. The kayak and jet ski area has 47 spaces. The trailhead on the east side has 38 spaces, which gives you a grand total of 446 spaces in the 2.5 miles that is the lakefront. So if anybody has any questions, we do have those numbers written down. I'm happy to go back over them with you. But so this small parking lot right here is going to have the 58 parking spaces. So again, we don't want to pave paradise to put up a parking lot. We want to make sure that parking is accessible. We want to make sure that there's convenient parking for somebody who's coming to maybe have dinner at Krabby Bill's on any random night. But we don't want to have enough parking for the worst case scenario, because then you ruin the entire park, right? It would be more designed for cars and not people. So we made an effort to make sure that the parking was grouped in spaces where it would be used by the park users and people would be able to conveniently park, but we're not having masses and seas of asphalt all throughout the park. Amphitheater area would be here. This gives a really nice backdrop to the amphitheater without over the swimming area, have nice open water views. This is depicted right now as an open lawn that's terraced. So you would have, if you have a seat in the back, you would have just as great a view as if you're in the front row. So making an idea that can be used for large events, small events, and can really be some nice open green space when there's not an event going on. Because again, it's important to have areas to stretch your legs on the other 360 days of the year that there's not a fancy event going on. Some other improvements we have along here, we've got more pavilions. Picnic pavilions are very important for people. They like to rent them for parties, gatherings, family reunions, that type of thing. Another improvement is called a cycle track. So if you aren't familiar with a cycle track, they are starting to pop up everywhere in Florida. A cycle track is a two-way, go as fast as you can on your bike riding lane. That's what I like to say. They are striped, but the bikes are not riding necessarily in the direction of traffic because they're right next to each other. But these are for bicyclists, these are the most efficient way. This is the way they prefer to ride. So we are looking at a cycle track, and the cycle track on this to keep the pedestrians and the cars who are parallel parking along Lakeshore Boulevard, the cycle track right now is shown to be on the south side of the road. Now that means driveway conflicts with the people who have houses along there. It won't affect the people who have houses, but there are more driveways for the people who are on bikes to cross. So it's not a deterrent for the homes. It's something for the bicyclists to be considerate of when they're riding, because there will be driveways. That's not set in stone. That's something that will have to be studied further if the city moves further in the project and how all that will function. Next slide. Okay, so some of the key points, economic opportunities include the civic event venue, like we talked about, making sure that there's space for the residents to be able to engage in civic activities. What that is right now, again, we don't know, but it might be, there's a satellite summer camp down here. There might be art classes down here, more of your programming type thing that's geared towards residents, small hotel or inn, some additional retail space, maybe restaurant space, and then also the seaplane base. So looking at the park as both an economic driver, but also an asset to the residents of St. Cloud. We're almost done, I promise. Did I tell some of y'all I'd only talked for 10 minutes? It's probably been more than 10 minutes. Okay, well, we'll wrap up soon. Some of the other things we've already talked about this, we can skip through this slide. All right, so I mentioned this is the last slide. We are also live on Zoom. So we've got our Zoom people there. They'll be, if anybody wants to go to the website after this meeting, there are some interactive activities that are available at lakefrontparkplan.com. You can leave comments there. You can leave comment cards with Paloma as you're exiting the room. She'd be happy to take it. We'll be summarizing the meeting afterwards. If you are listening to us on Zoom, thank you for hanging through this. You can ask Q&A that way. Andrea will be answering questions as we go through. You can chat with her and she'll answer questions, and we'll be here till 7. So thank you all so much.